Hey, everybody. Welcome to Astro Lunatic's Guide to the Universe. I am Susan, aka Astro Lunatic, and it is Monday, April 1st. Usually do the show on Sunday, but you know, it was Easter, and I hope everyone had a nice holiday if you celebrate. Anyway, celebrating spring is always in order. Or fall. Maybe you're in the southern hemisphere. But here the birds are chirping, the daffodils are up, and life is coming back to the earth. Happy, happy. So glad you could join me today. If you would like to check out the social media stuff, I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Rumble. I have a Rumble channel. Check the description box down below for my special links, and you can connect on Gilded. I have a little chat room there. Sign up for the newsletter if you like Substack. I have one of those. I'll be updating it soon, like soon, which means when I get around to it. But when I do, you will get notified. And what else? Yeah, if you would like to book a reading, you can reach me at astrolunatic@gmail.com or phone or text the hotline at 914-222-1231. Leave me a message at the beep, or you can just send me a little text and we'll get you started. So, what is going on? What the hell is going on? I should say, in the heavens. And what is up your anus? Someone suggested that I make a t-shirt. Maybe one day I'll have merch. That sounds like fun. I've got a few other choice quotes that would make lovely t-shirts, and that's on my to-do list. And as always, it'll get done soon, which, as you know, means when I get to it. I got goals. They take me a long time. May take me a long time to get there, but I get there. So, anyway, April 1st. What's the numerology today? Is a 4 day. Yesterday was a 6, 331. And today is a 4 in numerology. So we did a little building. We got to a plateau with the 6, seeing things really come together, take shape. And then we kind of get to rest. 4 seems like a good plateau number to sort of step off and say, I'm going to hang out here for a little bit, take in some of the scenery, digest the massive downloads, if you will, realizations, ahas, because things are changing. We are in between the eclipses, and that is like walking between worlds, looking back at the old, trying to visualize the new. And what do we want to take with us? What will stay? Oh, what and who will stay behind? Because these eclipses are happening in Aries and Libra, the first and seventh houses, and very relational axis of the self and the other. So I feel like the lunar eclipse brought up something emotionally in us to show us where things are kind of out of balance and what kind of, I don't know, relational dynamic, I guess you could say, is that we're done with. We're just done with a certain thing, but we're realizing it, and it has to do with us. It's not all about the quote other, yet it is at the same time. See, the nodes are not one or the other. It's not either or. It's sort of a teeter-totter balance. Like, you know, we have our self awareness, and then we become aware of the other, and that makes us more aware of ourself as we react, we have experiences, we look in the mirror, and that's the way we grow. So, what is our relationship showing us right now? That is the big question. And that was the question or the answer that came up around the lunar eclipse, March 25th. Either way, it was a bubble bursting, a pimple popping, a culmination ending, if you will. Maybe not a literal ending, but an ending of maybe a struggle or a question or something we'd been grappling with and going through. So, so on some level, it is a completion emotionally. And so we have the new beginning, the solar eclipse, the new moon that every 6 months changes the story. And the story is back on us, the Aries, the self. And, you know, I think the North Node in Aries is really bringing us to that self realization because, yes, we do understand ourselves while we're in relation to other people. It is part of the dynamic, but it is so hard to just get a grasp on the the pure the pure I am because it's the concept of self that's always forming, but based on other people's opinions, reactions of to us and of us, and then it's us internalizing that and then refining it and saying, "Oh no, you know that is who I am, or it's not who I am, or it's not who I want to be." Or, a lot of times, I think especially with Chiron and Aries, it's all the struggle to be seen for who we are, to be recognized, to be validated. And it's a struggle with Chiron in Aries because that is the wound, but it's the wound that forces us to seek healing. And because we get wounded, then we realize, where that thing is that we're struggling with, that we're trying to find and become and digging that out of us. So I shared something on Twitter yesterday. It was a video. If you're on my Twitter, you can go find it. But it just really made me think about the identity politics and identifying as whatever and the demand for recognition and where that is coming from. a very wounded place. And I think on some level we can all relate to that, though we don't want to be forced to recognize and validate someone else's experience because we have our own experience, and that demand for recognition comes from a place of feeling like we don't have it, right? I want to be this, but I can't be this unless you acknowledge that I am. And while it is valid, it's still a struggle because what we're really reaching for is to validate that within ourselves and to get in touch with the core of our existence. I mean, that's Aries. Aries is the primal fire of spirit coming into the world, showing up and saying, I am. Here I am. See me, feel me. Now I'm quoting the Who. So we're kind of focused on that with this solar eclipse. So I think it's gonna probably bring the end or the beginning of the end of that sort of identity politicking. Let's hope so. I mean, my wish for everyone is that we heal and that each person can feel validated. I definitely understand what it is like not to feel acknowledged. It is very much Capricorn struggle because Capricorn's aim is to achieve. The moon is in Capricorn today. So let's talk about Capricorn Aries dynamic. You know, Aries comes in, it works its way all the way through the zodiac, through the early years to young adulthood, coming out into the world, experiencing relationships, going through, vulnerability and intimacy, learning to love, learning about the world in general. And then it gets out into the world in Capricorn and looks at who it is and what it wants to achieve. And Capricorn does need validation of its achievements because, I mean, it's kind of part of the package, right? You work hard, you want to be appreciated for the effort that you put in, whatever efforts you're putting in. And we tend to gauge our level of achievement by the reaction from other people because how can we not? It's the mirror. So I think this square of the moon to all of the Aries energy here, the sun, the North Node, Chiron, and Mercury, which is just about to turn retrograde, like hours from now, 6 hours from now, roughly 5.5, something like that. So emotionally, we are looking towards our growth and our maturity, our responsibilities, all of those Capricorn keywords, loyalty, accountability, putting in the hard work. And we are looking sort of to the past with an eye to the future. This is we're working up to the waning square of the moon to the sun. This is the last quarter. Think about it. If you're a football fan, I don't know how that works, but I know they do it in quarters. So, we're almost into the end of the game here. So we're like assessing where we're at. And really the focus is towards Aries, towards who are we? Who do we want to be? How do we see ourselves? How do other people see us? And where is the disconnect with that? Where's the wounding? Where do we feel that we're lacking? Where do we feel that we could be more independent, self-sufficient? You know, there's emotional self-sufficiency too, where we don't need the validation. We know within the core of our being who we are based on our journey, our self-discovery, our self-awareness, self-awareness is a big part of it because sometimes the friction and the disconnect can come from the lack of self-awareness. And with the moon in Capricorn, we can be taking a look at where we may not be taking responsibility for where our relationships are at, whether or not we are happy, satisfied, fulfilled with our relationships or with our progress in life, where we're at and who we are. And so it's all wrapped up all in one big ball of wax. But this is going to be a really interesting week. And I do like retrogrades and I do like eclipses because it's out of the norm. I like weird stuff. I like when things go just, I don't want to say wonky, but be careful what you wish for, right? Um, I take it as a time to pause and see what comes in and see what leaves and just be observant. Um, be aware and be observant and not just barrel through your everyday life as you always would, because that's when we're not paying attention, we make mistakes, we forget things, we uh, just God forbid, accidents, that kind of thing happening with Mercury retrograde. It's at 27 degrees of Aries. Um, I just like to be really aware of my surroundings, of where I'm at, what I'm doing, take it slow. And it's sort of a sit and wait kind of period. Like it would not be the time that I would go out of my way to start something that I've never done before, or it's the time for planning. It's really actually really the time to self-reflect because we're going into a very, let's just say, interesting cycle. And things are happening right now that we have never seen before. The energy is very unstable around Mercury retrograde and eclipse, and we have them both. And being in Aries, I think it's a good idea to really focus on ourselves. Again, self-awareness, and Moon in Capricorn is reminding us to manage our energy wisely. The moon is making a sextile to Mars. Mars is the ruler of Aries and will be it will be the focus, but a side focus. And Mars in Aries, I'm sorry, Mars in Pisces. Mars is a fire planet, and I mean, fire being ruler of Aries, and it's in a water sign. So there's a lot of dissipation of the energy. And this is a waning energy. The the Mars energy resets itself every time it comes into its home sign. So what's happening right now is a dissolving. So, anytime we have planets coming up to or making an aspect to Saturn, it puts the brakes on. So don't be surprised if you feel tired, you feel sort of discombobulated, where, we've got the Aries fire, yang, active energy here, a lot of it. And yet the very planet that rules it is like soggy. Mars is walking around with a soggy diaper. Wah, wah. Um, and Mars coming up to Saturn is saying, slow down, because everything is about to reset itself. So everything we know about ourselves and the world and our relationships and our future is about to change because we have a retrograde Mercury that always rectifies things. It can make us review who we are, what is the path that we're on. And so it is telling us to slow down. And Mars will only get closer to Saturn. So people could be having sleep issues, weird dreams. Oh my gosh. I have been I've had a few interesting dreams, but hard to sleep with a lot of people, I notice. So feeling off, feeling a little wonky, give yourself some time. But moon sextile to Mars is good time management, good energy management, and it senses that there is a wall here, that, Mars is at 7 Pisces, Saturn is 13 Pisces here. So think of it as whatever it is, you're plodding along, and then suddenly things come to a standstill. Mars moves about 2 degrees, or no, like not a degree a day. It takes 2 days for it to move 1 degree. So figure this is the energy all week. It's If you look at the sun and the north node, this is where the focus, the soul, the ego is coming into alignment, or trying to come into alignment with purpose. The nodes are north and south, and the north node is where we're going. South node is comfortable, where we've been, the past lives, but it's also where we've gained experience and we can draw from the south node. That's fine. It's not an either or thing, but the focus needs to be on Aries, about a new beginning, about, you know, the new concept of self, a new way of asserting, of expressing, of taking action, of managing the Mars principle within ourselves. And we're going to watch, people can do a complete 180 and show up in a way that we never would have expected, right? Think of Diana Ross's I'm coming out, right? Guess what? I'm here. Uh, and depending on the uh, let's say the psychological state, of people. It will depend on how they're going to manage these things, you know. The majority of people are running on an unconscious autopilot, and their actions and their whole life just reflects their unconscious choices. I'd like to think that people listening to my show here are more conscious, or at least trying to get a grasp on what is coming from our subconscious. You know, when we talk about manifesting, right? That all comes from our subconscious. And I think the more that we can bring that into alignment with our conscious choices, the healthier we are, the better off we'll be, because then we're just, when we're doing the autopilot thing, we are running headlong into circumstances and situations and relationships that are what we would call karmic. I mean, everything is really karmic, but where we need to externalize something and learn a lesson, and it can be very difficult times. So, you know, Pisces here is digging in. That is the collective unconscious. It is our personal experience with the unconscious, subconscious. So that does relate to dreams. And um, Mars coming into contact with Saturn is bringing us to a deeper level of looking at what our blockages are. And we're doing that personally and collectively. So that is all going on right now. And we are today and tomorrow just kind of taking stock of where things are. Now, let's see. We've got Neptune and Venus starting to form a conjunction, which is a really lovely conjunction. If you have it natally, it has its upside and its downside. And you know that there is the capacity for a higher form of love, a sort of a more unconditional love. And people with Neptune and Venus in conjunction, it's a very it's a very soft and, how would you put it, welcoming um type of an energy. I mean, there's a deep capacity for love with Neptune and Venus. In Pisces, it's love with no bounds, but it is also sort of seeing things with rose-colored glasses, and it's what we want to believe, and we see the highest good in people with this aspect. But we also need to be looking at, you know, where might the red flags be? What are we not seeing? Are we being deceived? Because we may not want to see things, and so we don't see them because we want to believe that it's beautiful and it's magical. And Neptune Venus is beautiful and magical, and there is a tremendous amount of potential for huge manifestation. We just want to be aware of what we are manifesting. Like, are we manifesting a dream or a nightmare? What the heck is going on? But I think that there is a huge awareness coming of how we are as a group, as a collective, where we are being led astray, where we're being deceived, where we may have worn the rose-colored glasses. And they're about to come off with this eclipse. But enjoy the Neptune Venus. I have it in my chart. So I tell you, it is definitely a blessing and a curse at the same time. But let's see what happens when Venus goes into Aries. She will have dealt with all her codependent addictions to love. And we are reformulating a new concept of love. And it starts with self-love. And Venus in Aries is going to start loving on the self. So, what else do we have going on? I'm not really going to go through the days of the week like I normally would. I think I am going to just look at where we are today and tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll have the moon in Capricorn and it will be starting to sextile Venus and Neptune. And moon in Capricorn can really dial down on what it wants to focus on and create on a spiritual level, on the level of magic. Neptune and Venus is magic. Take it from me. It is. Um, and the moon in Capricorn is going to help us to solidify, to crystallize that. And then the moon will square to Mercury. So it's like we get our marching orders. We get our, I always say when Mercury goes retrograde, you just sit and wait. And really, the energy doesn't change until we're still kind of working things out today, while the moon will sextile to Mars, it'll sextile to Saturn. So we're kind of getting a grasp on this really slippery thing and the wall. It's like there's a wall, but we can't see it because Neptune and Pisces energy is keeping it from us. This is the veil. Saturn's like the veil or the corpus callosum, right? This is the wall. This is the barrier between this world and that world, whatever you believe about that world. And the moon is testing it. I would think that people would be having some really interesting dreams, a lot of maybe testing the limits, trying to, work on your lucid dreaming, or even, I mean, daydreaming while awake, visualizations. The emotional focus is there. So we're working on something, and the moon will square the sun today. That's like the last quarter. That what I said about like the turning point, the time for action, the um, culmination of kind of what we've been working on, and like the beginning of the last phase before the new moon. It's finishing things up, but it's got a really good grasp on how we need to pull everything together between today and tomorrow. And and then, like I said, Mercury goes retrograde today. Tomorrow, the moon will square. It's probably overnight between today and tomorrow. either early, depending on where you are, of course. It's either really early in the morning or it's overnight. Let's see. Um, New York time, it is around midnight or yeah, just like right after midnight or around midnight. So around midnight, that's pretty interesting. On the third, early morning or late night on the second, wherever you are. So the moon squares to the Mercury retrograde. This is what um I feel like this is the message of the Mercury retrograde. It starts with this because the moon is the timing. And look at this: Venus, Neptune, 27, Mercury, 27, Moon, 27. 27 reduces to a 9. In my one of my methods that I use where the degrees relate to houses and signs. So this would be, let me see, 12 and 12 is 24 minus 27. That's a 3. So we have a third house Gemini energy. A 9 is an ending. Like the clock has run out on something. So yeah, I always look to the first, what do you call it? Aspect of the moon to Mercury retrograde. Because the retrograde is all about the aspects that it makes. All very interesting. So the moon in Capricorn, that's pretty much around the degree of the United States Pluto. As you know, we had our Pluto return. Pluto will retrograde later on in the year and go back into Capricorn, I think in the fall, where we will see a reversal of some things. But this is the first shot out of the gate. It happens overnight, so we wake up tomorrow and the moon will be in Aquarius conjunct to Pluto. This could be very interesting. Moon Pluto. Pluto, obviously we know, is Hades, the god of the underworld. It is death and resurrection. Either somebody's gone or somebody comes back from, quote, the dead. Not really dead, but, or, this is the theme is passing away of the old. The passing away of the old and the beginning of the new, whatever that means for you. So this is like the message comes down from the higher ups to say things need to change. Or the higher ups, your higher self, whatever, bosses, you know, parents, husband, partner, spouse. And there's a lot going on here that relates to love and relationships, and the highest form of love, compassion, unconditional love. But love is blind, and there's something that's not being dealt with, but I think this is going to help us deal with it, or a resetting. Let's look at this eclipse as a resetting of the energy of the self, first and foremost, and our relationships. Because when we're different, we're going to have different relationships. And sometimes we might find ourselves in a friendship or a relationship that is not reflecting who we truly are because we're trying to get at the core essence of who we are, right? So this Mercury retrograde is going to be all kind of an internal accounting of who we are, how we feel, how we express ourselves, how we handle our drive, um our anger even, because that's Mars and Aries, and it's frustrated in Pisces, and it's going to get a little more frustrated because it's not going to be able to move forward until it deals with the karma, the issues, and recognizes where the blockages are. But the moon square Mercury, that is our point to look for. Are you getting dreams? Are you getting a message? Did someone show back up? Or did a situation come up? What is it? This is what I always say with Mercury retrograde. When Mercury goes retrograde, pay attention. What are the issues? What's going on? What's the dynamic? Where are you at? What is cropping up to let you know where the changes will come, where to pay attention, right? So, I mean, it could be a very emotional moment and a conversation, or even the inner dialogue with oneself to say, Self, this is wholly unacceptable. We need something new. And it's cutting ties. There's a tie cutting here, a cord cutting. Did some of that yesterday. Um, because a lot of it we're working in the subconscious, unconscious area here. So that should be very interesting. And and then when the moon gets into Aquarius and contacts Pluto here, Pluto is the death of something, literal or figurative death of something, but it's also taking control and facing our fears. The moon isn't making any other aspect that day other than Pluto. All we're dealing with is Pluto. Pluto, the depths of power, the looking at, the power that we do have, the power in groups, the power of technology, and all Aquarius related things, and coming to coming into our own power and taking responsibility, of course. And it all looks very interesting. All right, that's it for today. I promised myself I was going to keep things short and sweet-ish. I'm probably just going to do a series of short videos, and I'm trying to organize the content, kind of hone in, streamline, that kind of thing, and do separate videos for asteroids, maybe stars, specific alignments, and then start moving into my, um, what do you call it? My more specialized content, which will be looking at people's charts, people who are in the public eye, who are very much in focus right now. So send me your suggestions if you want. Leave a comment below the video. And as always, like, share, subscribe to the channel. Yes, please like the video. If you haven't subscribed, please do that. Please make suggestions, ask questions. If there's people's charts that you want me to look at, I've had a few suggestions and requests already. So there's a few names on my list, but I like to know what you guys want to look at. So it's a collaborative effort here. Okay, thank you again. You know where to find me: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Rumble. Check the links down below. I have a buy me a coffee. You can donate to support my astrology habit, or if you would like a mini reading, buy a coffee or two or three or whatever, and we'll get you started. I like to do those little text readings. Um, yeah, very fun. It doesn't have to be text. I do email also, and uh, I made a video actually for somebody recently. I did a recording, put it up on YouTube, private. I've done a lot of that in the past with clients. Yeah, so you get your own private video with a link. No one can see it unless you share the link, and you can always go back to it. You can even download it. I know there's a way to download it from YouTube, but if you can't do that, you want the video, I'll figure out how to get it to you. But it's a good time to check in during eclipses because things are changing, and it's good to get ahead of it, to know what to expect. We have a lot of interesting aspects coming up with the Mercury retrograde. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm super, super stoked. Super, super, super serial stoked. So, um, I will do a separate video just looking at the aspects for Mercury retrograde. I'll look at some asteroids, and that'll be later on in the week. Maybe tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see when I get around to it. You know how it goes. All right, everybody. Until next time, ciao for now.